Hello everyone, my name is Isaiah Rojas, and today I'm going to be talking about why I believe Walter Kovac, aka Rorschach, is not heroic and why I cannot morally condone his actions. Before watching this video, I recommend you finish reading The Watchmen, as there are a lot of parts I talk about that happen far into the story. It'd be unwise to watch this video if you have not at least gotten to the last chapter. Now, to explain my reasoning. My first reason to believe that Rorschach is not heroic and I cannot condone his actions is due to his mental instability. Rorschach grew up with a rough childhood, often being beaten by his mother and being told that he was a mistake. Rorschach eventually left to go move into an orphanage, where he would later work in a low-wage job. We can believe that Rorschach is actually a product of his environment, which causes him to act violently towards criminals. Another part that changes Rorschach is when he takes on a case that involves a child murderer. When taking the case, Rorschach believes that he would just have to punish the criminal, and that it would not have to be anything more. But once he saw that the child was fed to the dogs, he lost all sense of reason and set fire to the place and killed the child murderer. This can be seen as a very mentally unstable process. First off, the dogs were not evil. The dogs would not have known any better, which means Rorschach killed them out of just him being crazy. We can also see that in that scene, he was not acting the way he usually does. After killing the child murderer, Rorschach says that he will never be soft on criminals again, which basically means he will always kill them. In Moore and Gibbon's Watchmen, Exact Personification of Science, they talk about how Rorschach is the embodiment of psychology in the story. This makes sense because, Rorschach is the inkblot test, which is a mental test to check if people are crazy or not. At first, I did not know that that's what that Rorschach was in terms embodying, but it makes sense when you start looking at his character. Rorschach refers to most people, Rorschach refers to what most people call the inkblot test. And people are shown different inkblots and are asked to identify what they see in each of them. When taking the inkblot test while he's in prison, Rorschach shows that he always thinks of his past when seeing them. This only happens to those who've had trauma that they can't fix. For me, I believe that, due to his past, Rorschach should not be able to become a hero. He's too violent and he kills people. It's sad to know that this happens from his past, but it still doesn't give him a right to kill people without any reasoning. The next reason I believe Rorschach cannot be called heroic is due to his uncompromising view on evil and what it stands for. So, in the beginning, when we are first introduced to Rorschach, we can at least say that he is not a bad guy. He is not shown beating helpless civilians or is killing indiscriminately. But as we go further in the story, we realize that Rorschach's view on evil is not based on destroying it for the good of the people. It's destroying it to find out the truth. Now, the truth can be seen as a heroic deed, but it's not always the case. This is seen later, very late on in the story, when asked to expose when he was faced with a situation where lying and hiding the truth would bring peace to the people. Rorschach still chose to find the truth. This led to him being killed by the rest of the mass heroes. Now, that just shows that Rorschach does not really want to fight for people's peace, but instead he believes that the world is already corrupt and that they should be punished regardless. Now, that's in terms of acting heroic, we can say that Rorschach is not. He is not doing it for the better of the people, and he cannot be seen as what someone who wants the better of the people to do. So, after saying all that, my main point is that Rorschach does not want peace. He wants the truth. And the truth can sometimes mean that you are not in the right and that it hurts the other people that don't require to be hurt. As many people would understand, is that he would be able to change his view, but the main problem with Rorschach is that he doesn't. He doesn't want to change his view. His main mantra that can be seen in the story is that he always says he has to destroy evil. It is an uncompromising fact. So, how do we condone something like that? He doesn't do it because he thinks it'll help. He does it because he thinks everyone should be tried. This leads to another part that we can see, which is his mask. So his mask leads to why his uncompromising nature makes sense. In one of the scenes, right here, I'll bring it up. In one of the scenes, Rorschach states, right here, I don't know if you can read it, but right here, Rorschach states that his mask is black and white with no gray. That's exactly how Rorschach views the world. Rorschach sees either good and evil. There is no in-between, which really makes problems happen. So if there's only good and evil, there is no mix. And there's always, in reality, there's always a mix. Not everyone is always truly evil when committing evil deeds. So Rorschach's view on that makes even a petty crime become the most violent, is just as evil as someone murdering a child. This view is not healthy, and it also is not how people should view the world. So, my next reasoning to why I believe Rorschach is not heroic and why I cannot morally condone his actions. The next reason is due to, is right here. Another reason I don't condone his behavior is due to the violence that he uses to fight crimes. So, I think we can all agree here that violence does not end violence. And Rorschach is basically the embodiment of violence. One of the scenes that I talked about earlier about the child murderer, technically the only ethical thing that the child murderer did wrong was murder, which makes sense. He was a murderer. So by killing the murderer, wouldn't that make Rorschach just as evil as the person he was killing? Sure, it was him killing another evil person, but does that really condone all that he did? Another reason, well, not another reason, but yeah, so Rorschach is merciless. He doesn't compromise in anything. Like, he legit set the child murderer on fire, which is not something a hero should do. This is the biggest point I can make and why I can't morally condone it. Violence does not beget violence. It doesn't end it. So Rorschach is not helping people, rather he is just erasing, and it doesn't stop. Evil cannot be taken from the world. It's a natural thing. Him taking out some may bring short-term peace, but not long-term. Another point that brings his morals into action is the fact that he's not doing these crime fights for the better of the people. Rather, he's doing it for his own satisfaction. In the story, right here, we can see that Rorschach considers, right here, you can see that Rorschach considers hunting criminals as a pleasurable experience, which is kind of evil when you think about it the other way around. You know, like, villains enjoy the pleasure of killing, and Rorschach enjoys the pleasure of killing villains, it's not something a hero would do. And really, I really can't condone him murdering them, even regardless of how evil they actually are. So, it's almost strange to call even, because Rorschach I don't believe is a bad person, but in order to find pleasure in fighting criminals, or as considering it a rewarding experience, it takes it makes you think back on what heroes actually fight crime for. I don't think I could see it being said that heroes fight crime in order to, as a sort of therapy. But for Rorschach, therapy is not what he needs. It's more of he needs to accept the fact, like the ways of the world, that not everything is black and white, and that not all evil is inherently evil. So, this is about the last thing I had to say about Rorschach. His reason for fighting evil is not one that coincides with the reason of a hero. And he doesn't do it because it benefits society. So how can we condone it? You can't. So, after all this reasoning, I believe that Rorschach is not heroic, and I do not condone his actions. Thank you for watching.